Okay, everybody, we are on our last video for this class. Last video, a second video in our last session, revision and proofreading and editing. As you're getting ready for your submitting your research review essay, which we're all looking really forward reading. And so we talked in the previous video about shortening long sentences is a really important strategy for proofing and proofreading and editing your own work, particularly towards the end stages. Once you've organized everything and you know what you're saying and the structure and organization, the flow works, it's time to look at sentence length. The other part that I think is important to do at the end of, towards the end of your revision process is to make sure that every paragraph has a topic sentence. And in the handout that I've given you a link to on using topic sentences. The examples are from literary texts, and I'm going to look at one just for a minute together in just a second. But just to reiterate, topic sentences are usually placed at the beginning of a paragraph. They're not necessarily always the first sentence, but they should be ideally pretty early on. There are instances where a topic sentence can be at the end of a paragraph. However, in most science writing, the point is to really tell your reader why it is important and then provide the evidence that you collected, either through your own research, your own bench research, or your own research with other data, or with other research, other evidence-based practice sources, or sources based on on research methodology. So however you want to prove your point, however you're substantiating your claims that you make in a topic sentence, it's easiest to do that at the beginning, especially for a reader, than towards the end. There are some rhetorical instances, some situations where that might be useful, but I would venture to say that for most academic and science writers, the best strategy is to really think about the topic sentence as a mini introduction for your paragraph. So let's look at the example that we used in Module 6 when we did a little section on analytical writing, right? Because we wanted to really emphasize to you that we're interested in your analysis rather than just summary. And topic sentences often are the analytical frame that you give to a paragraph. So here, the analytical frame clearly is the beginning. Data on needle exchange programs can lead to a decrease in HIV infection rates in urban areas. Okay, so that's somehow linking probably to the previous paragraph, and here comes the new idea. However, these programs lead to even greater success when combined with additional programming. Right, so here we have our topic sentence. And then comes the most widely used and often not used enough version of a great transition, the for example. Then you provide background for the statements you make in your topic sentence. And in this case, we have 2 citations. So that's just as a quick recap from what we've seen in the example I've used with you in the video Analytical Writing 2 modules ago. So let's look at some new examples. The one example I wanted to spend some time on is the example actually from your handout. This is a paragraph from Northrop Frye's Anatomy of Criticism. And Northrop Frye, by the way, is a big literary scholar, widely published, widely cited. So he's a wonderful writer. So he's sort of at the top of his game. So let's look at the topic sentence already highlighted for us, but I'll do it again. Right here we have the topic sentence, a great general statement. A tragic hero is typically on top of the wheel of fortune, halfway between human society on the ground and the something greater in the sky. And he follows this up by some specific evidence, some specific examples. Prometheus, Adam, and Christ being in heaven. Tragic heroes are so much in the highest points. So you see it. So he gives conductors of maybe instruments. Milton Samson destroys the Philistine temple. So he gives some, and Hamlet. So he gives some really specific examples of certain figures or examples of tragic heroes. Again, we have, I'm going to circle this, it's going to be a little clearer. Prometheus, Adam, and Christ. Then we have Samson, and then we have Hamlet, right? So each sentence almost provides a new example. But if we would start the paragraph right here, it would start it right over here. Hold on one second, my program. Here we go. If we would start it right here, and this wouldn't be there, I'd be like, okay, why do I need to know about Prometheus, Adam, Christ, Samson, Hamlet, and all these guys? What's the point? Well, the topic sentence gives me the point. Okay, so just as a quick review from the example that your handout used. And I want to provide you with one last example, and comes from the same text that I've used in the previous video on shortening sentences, from a colleague of mine with whom I consulted with her on a publication that's been accepted, for publication just recently, this review article. So here you have a paragraph from her article. A single subject case study compared 3 phases of a progressively phased rehabilitation program on BMD and lean tissue changes in the women with a chronic T10 incomplete spinal cord injury, right? And BMD is, I think, short for bone mineral density. Each phase, program on bone mineral density and lean tissue changes in a woman with a chronic T10 incomplete spinal cord injury. Each phase lasted 10 weeks, and the phases were separated by 7-week-long interphase periods. The first 2 phases were structured as follows: standing and inana. Both of these phases resulted in overall loss of BMD. The third phase included. So it gives a lot of great detail of the study. It's an important study. It's important for the author to really clearly show to the reader, like, hey, this is stuff that you need to know. But I'm not sure why I need to know this. I'm like, okay, this is obviously about bone mineral density and something about spinal cord injury, but what's the point? Why this study? Well, the problem that you're facing here is that we're missing the topic sentence, right? There's no topic sentence here that really clearly gives us an idea of why this is important. So let me actually copy and paste the topic sentence in here, and we'll see if you think that it might actually improve the sentence. I'm going to highlight it again for you guys. Research in this area is notable for small study populations and the lack of randomized controlled study designs. And I've suggested to her, this was an edit that I made for her, or suggested to her, is, for example, a single subject case study compared 3 phases. So, right, this is a case study with only one person, one single subject. So it is an example of what is expressed in the topic sentence, that this bone mineral density is an important part of research on spinal cord injury and using whole body vibration. However, some of the work in this field is methodologically not nearly as comprehensive as it might need to be in order to make some stronger claims for that this particular intervention works in patients with spinal cord injury. Okay, so again, this sentence here really livens up the paragraph, and that's what we want you to work on, is to have sentences like this that give a analytical or summative analytical overview, analytical structure to your information, to the paragraph, ideally linking it back to your overall research question and argument. So that ideally, if I were to read your paper and just skim through it and just read the first 1 or 2 sentences of each paragraph, I would get a good idea of what your paper is about just by doing that, because the topic sentence at the beginning, ideally at the beginning of the paragraph, provides me a quick introduction to the rest of the paragraph, and then as a reader I can choose to, like, oh, I want to know more, right? Oh, I need to know more. Is this really true? Well, I don't know. Sometimes you might have a reaction to a topic sentence saying, well, what do you mean small study populations and lack of randomized controlled study designs? I don't agree. Convince me. And then of course comes the convincing evidence. Okay, so good luck with your revisions, your proofing, and your editing. I'm looking extremely forward to seeing your final projects. You guys worked hard on this, and both Emily and I are thrilled that you guys have come so far and worked so hard on this. And we're looking forward seeing your final products and hopefully working with you at some point again.